They stole the tongues from our ancestors. They burned the god poles and sacred groves. They buried the bones of our ways under stone churches and foreign thrones. But the old ways didn't die. They hid among the traditions that live on still today. Godi Bodvar and Gidja Skogel are husband and wife, souls bound for over 3 decades. Walking the old road in a modern world, we live our faith out loud through kinship, ritual, and real talk. No gatekeeping, no dogma, just the work, the wisdom, and the way home. This is the path to remember who we are. This is the Northwoods Kindred podcast. Every once in a while, somebody asks me, "Is there a war on paganism coming?" And I usually dismiss it and say, "No, we're good." But it seems like, especially after the shooting, I don't know what we can say without getting
bananaed.
Bananaed, yeah. So like, that CK dude at that university who caught a hot lead infection. So after that,
wow.
I don't know how to do it without getting busted. So
we're gonna do that.
So bottom line, I kind of liked his stuff. I kind of like watching his debates. I mean, because it was an open discourse. Obviously, he was a zealot, right?
Obviously.
But he gave his enemies a microphone. He didn't try to silence them and tell them to shut up. You don't have a voice. I think he cherry picked some of the really dumb ones.
Yes.
And if anybody had a really good debate with him, he probably didn't air it very much, But there's a couple people that come back to debate often, and they were on the other side, but they were very intelligent, and they almost were like friends. Like when they would meet up, like, "Oh, hey, it's you again.
Yeah.
Where are we going this time?" And it was a fun little thing. So I think there was a lot more personality there, and there was a lot more to the guy than what was let on.
Mm-hmm.
But since that happened, the zealots have come out of the woodwork, and they're just ready to fight. And they, for some reason, they're blaming it on pagans. Now, I don't know the denomination or the practice of the guy who, allegedly, cracked one off. I don't know.
Okay.
There was a lot of social stuff, who he lived with and his lifestyle choices. There was a lot of that. So I don't know if paganism happened to be part of that, but they certainly turned their sights on us after that happened. And it has been kind of escalating over the years. We've had different groups aim their sights at us over time. Fox News is definitely guilty of that garbage.
Yeah, 100% Fox News.
It's weird because all the time, it's always that we're devil worshippers and we're everything that's wrong. But it's like, I even on TikTok, where it is a cesspool, right? There's still at least Asatru and other pagans, eclectic pagans, putting together raffles and to help people, Toys for Tots type events. There's a lot of community outreach, even for our own limited size community, right? So if I do a good deed and you do a good deed and they're equal, and I do something nice for people and you do something nice for people and they're both equal, and I do something that betters myself without hurting anybody, and you do something that betters yourself without hurting anybody, why am I wrong just because I have a different sky daddy, right? Why am I evil and the things I do are evil and the things you do are beautiful and in the keeping of Christ consciousness or whatever, It doesn't make any sense. Either it's a good deed or a bad deed, right? It doesn't matter who you pray to. So that's the world that we're living in right now, is a lot of that kind of bullshit. So this isn't really about politics. It's about your ability to worship freely and to gather in, openly in public with other people and not have to be harassed by zealots trying to silence it's not even your voice, because it's not like we're running for politics. It's not like there's Wicca in Congress, right?
Well, I think there is one pagan in Congress.
Really?
Or at least close to Congress. I think there is somebody pagan in an office.
Oh, I didn't know that. So if there is, hey, if you know who that is, put it in the comments. Or, if you don't want to call them out or whatever, private email, I'd like to know who that is.
Yeah.
And if there's more, I'd like to know it. And if you're one of their constituents, if you voted for them and they're in your area, I'd really like to know if they're doing their job, if they're helping you. And I know that I'm not trying to get into politics. I just want to know if we're being represented accurately, because that we're very apolitical here. I don't like politics. I don't think it's I don't think it's good for the faith. I don't think it's good for any faith. I very firmly believe in separation of church and state, and you can be on the left side of the aisle or the right side of the aisle, and we can still come together and vote. I think, right? I think that the divisions between us are forced divisions because people want to divide and conquer. Those that are in power, that have the power struggle right now, want to divide us and conquer us. So they're pitting us against each other. You can be conservative pagan and you can be a liberal pagan, and you're still a pagan, right? They don't seem to have that kind of distinction between the Christians, do they? Conservative Christians and liberal Christians. I'm sure that they both sit in church together in a lot of places.
Well, I mean, you see all the televised events they do. Right.
Now, there are some exceptions. Of course, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So the most liberal, loudmouth, and generally the most ignorant are the ones who get all the press, especially on the right-hand side of the news reel. And the most liberal, loudmouth, extremist on the right-hand side get all the press on the left-hand side of the news, right?
Right.
So they're going to take the most extreme violation and use that as their battle cry and say, "You're all like that fucker." And so that's what's happening, I think, with paganism too, although at a lighter degree right now. But with Pete Hegseth taking office as the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, whatever.
The War Department.
War Department.
Yeah. So, renamed into the
I
War
don't think
Department.
that's official, though. I think that's just posturing, just kind of puffing out his chest. And we're going back to being hardcore war. So I don't know if that's official or not. Maybe it will be, but
I feel
it
like
needs to be. I feel like it needs to be voted on. I don't think like you can just jump in there willy-nilly and change a department, change the name of a department. I feel like there has to be some process.
I think he was actually working on this whole thing for a couple of months. I mean, that's what he said. You know, I listened to the whole interview.
Yeah. I really don't care what you call it. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Still in charge of the military, right?
Right.
And the defense of the nation, whether you call it a War Department or not. But it's very Orwellian to me. You know, the Ministry of Love is where you go get tortured until you comply. You know, the Ministry of War is the one that makes enemies around the globe and forces you for your 10 minutes of hate every day. Like, it's happening. You know, read the book if you haven't. So I have some actually examples here of kind of like the escalation against paganism. So I got my my notes right here. In 2024, protesters disrupted Wiccan and pagan festivals, waving Bibles and accusing attendees of being Satanist, with some events requiring police presence or response. So that's what we're talking about with gathering in public. Now, with our new organization, which we actually haven't told you about yet.
No, we haven't actually told them.
Asatru Global. So let me throw that up here. So if you look for that symbol, that's Asatru Global. That's our new logo. So that's what we're trying to do, is just bring kind of all of at least Asatru together. Like, we'll support our brothers and sisters in other faiths, but we're Asatru. It's really where our study and where our expertise kind of lies, is within the Asatru path. Whether you be a Reconstructionist or you make everything up yourself, as long as the pantheon that you're praying to is Norse, then we can kind of provide some kind of aid to that. We're going to have to come together as pagans collectively, even if you're not Asatru, but if you're Wicca or whatever, we're going to have to quit slandering each other.
Yeah, we got to quit hating each other.
Yeah.
Heathens.
I mean, there's
heathens almost more than Christians sometimes.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know I have been harassed and defamed by more heathens than I ever have by Christians.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Facts.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so I'll read the next one.
Yeah,
okay.
cool.
Fox News ran an entire segment dismissing Wiccan and pagan practices as dangerous, while performing so-called witchcraft experts who painted us as delusional.
Yeah, platforming.
Oh,
I know you don't have your glasses on.
Yeah.
Maybe I should make that print bigger.
A little bit.
So what they did was they brought in experts about paganism, but these experts weren't pagan. So you guys know, if you're a pagan, how much study we have to put into developing our practice, right? And understanding how much of it is hidden and how much of it is encoded into local traditions, even if they're, like, the Lutheran Church has local traditions that are encoded pagan traditions from way back in the day that never went away. So to untangle that and learn all that kind of stuff, you guys know how much research goes into that. Now, how much research do you think some fucking bishop is going to put into researching paganism just so he can come on Fox News and slander it? Fucking zero. That's it. He's probably going to do a Google search in the cab ride over. That's, you know what I mean? That's going to be it. He's like, oh, the Asatru are a bunch of racists and blah, 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 and hammers are signs of dog whistles and blah.
He's going to ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, he's going to what is paganism? How can I defame it on Fox News? Like,
boom.
Boom. Yeah, so there you go. So that happened, probably on Tucker. So
yeah, he got canceled though, didn't he?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used to like Fox News, but even now, like it's so blatantly obvious.
Well, they're still spoon feeding you, you know.
Yeah,
trash. It doesn't matter what channel you're watching.
It's kind of cool though. So hey, no matter what you like, Fox, CNN, whatever your flavor of news is, walk away from that shit for 6 months. Just don't absorb the news. Get your news from some other source, and when you go back to watch it, you'll see just how much you've been manipulated. Not even 6 months, a month.
Yeah.
A month. You'll see how much manipulation is into that, but you get caught up in that loop and you just can't wait for the next piece of biased information that confirms your bias, and then it just goes downhill from there.
I hear a lot of people get their news from TikTok now.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if that's any better.
Bet your sources, right?
Right.
So what's the other one? Project 2025, the conservative policy plan, explicitly calls for dismantling protections around religious pluralism, effectively creating space for Christian dominance in public life. Now, religious pluralism is when you believe that there's more than one path to God or more than one path to divinity, right? Like, it's weird because they will accept Buddhists, right? The Christians, for the most part, they'll accept Buddhists. They'll accept Mormons, which shit was just made up, last century, right? It was just invented out of the blue by some convict. Don't come after me, Mormons. I know more about your shit than I'm letting on, but it is kind of suspect. Anyway, so they don't have any issues with Mormons, right? Because essentially it's kind of the same Sky Daddy. They don't have any issues with, in a lot of cases, they didn't have issues with Sikhs. They like Muslims more than they like us, right? And the ones that aren't calling every Muslim an extremist because they don't understand anything. As long as they have the same basic pantheon, right, which is Jesus, Mary, Joseph, that kind of stuff. If they have the same, even if they interpret it differently, if they have the same Christian mythology, right, then they're accepted. No matter if it was invented 100 years ago or if it's 1,000 years old. So that's the situation that they're in. But there's other paths to God or to divinity, like Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism, Asatru, Wicca, right? However you identify with divinity isn't wrong. It's just how you identify with divinity, right? And if they believe that God created everything and never makes a mistake, then you're not a mistake, and your belief system isn't a mistake. You're doing exactly what you were supposed to do, right? But that's pluralism, and they're trying to cut that out so that they can dominate the public spaces, so that they don't have to have room or allowance for us dirty pagans. And the only way to do that is to convince the world that all pagans are evil, horrible people. So they'll never highlight the fundraising and the outreach and the good that you do for your community. And if you go talk to your local churches and build a good rapport and get in good and have a good working relationship with them, that will never go beyond the little circle that you created, because it doesn't feed the narrative that all pagans are bad people, right?
Right.
Now, we've gone to some events with paganism, like Pagan Fest here in Spokane, and so far we've seen no issues at all. We expected them the first year, but there was nothing.
Yeah.
So hopefully that sort of a trend continues. I don't think it's a total loss yet. I just think we need to get our heads out of our asses and quit beating each other up. So, you want to go to the next one?
Sure. Which one?
Military.
Okay. In the military, the new Secretary of Defense declared he would end identity expression in the ranks, targeting grooming standards like beards and long hair. Pagans who honor gods with sacred hair or beards could lose their rights under this policy. That one's hot right now.
It's a hot debate, yeah, because Pete Hegseth called us out, right? We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans, and he was calling out the relaxed grooming standards for beard and hair. I don't know if anybody has hair standards. I hadn't heard of that. Is that an Army thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I hadn't heard it in the Air Force. So my experience with that, you know, I did. I retired from the Marines, so I never had any kind of a relaxed grooming standard based on my faith, and I was a pagan the entire time. You know, right after boot camp, I found Asatru, and I never looked back. So I've been Asatru the whole time. Now, the way that I made myself known was I tried to be the most exceptional Marine that I could be. Won meritorious boards, win meritorious promotions, run faster, shoot straighter, you know, swim better, like be the best Marine that I could be. So in all billets and all duties that I went to, I always put my effort into being the best, the most Viking Marine that they had, right? The idea being that I want those commanders to love me so much that they want more of, how do I get more of that motherfucker? You know, how do I get more of that guy in the unit? Not, oh, that's the guy with the beard. Oh, fuck, I can't wait till he PCSs, you know, because if you're causing more trouble for your commander, they're not there to support you. So they're probably like, yes, no more beards, you know, and then the guys in the Army and the Air Force are like, whoa, they're going to take our beards away. But my experience with that, with the Air Force anyway, and you know who you are, if you're watching, you know who you are. They're not even Asatru. They're just eclectic pagans or Wiccas, self-proclaimed, but put on a hammer just so they can get a beard exemption or whatever, just so they can have a beard. So they've hijacked it, which is what made it ridiculous. And I think that's what Hegseth was talking about when he's like, we don't have a military full of Norse pagans. What he really means is you might maybe have one in every other unit. You know, you might have 2 Norse pagans in a regiment or a, you know, you might have a handful, maybe enough for a kindred in a division of Norse pagans. But every other pagan, Wicca, Buddha, everybody says, oh, I'm a Norse pagan, because they can do whatever they want because there's no standard or no criteria. And in addition to that, they can just claim it and then get a hammer. And we're like, well, do you do blow? Do you do any kind of symbol? No, that's not part of my practice. That's not part of my personal. I get it, like it's your practice, but to make something like a beard and hair dogmatic and then not do any of the main stuff like honor the gods and the land spirits, it seems a little bit suspect to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not calling anybody out on the way they practice, but it just seems suspect to me. It seems like it's like they're only doing it to stand out. And if you want to stand out in a unit, be better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're taking our practice and they're molding it into some weird perversion that it's not, just so they can grow facial hair.
Right.
And,
I like it.
And we can say this because we know people that do it.
Yeah, that's the point. My point is that I have limited experience with it, but the experience I do have, that's almost always the case. And the real, true, hardcore pagans on active duty, or Norse pagans or Asatru that I know that are on active duty, have opted out of the beard.
Yes. Yeah, we both know those too.
Yeah. Because they've opted out of the beard because they don't want to be lumped in with the ones who are using it as their personal expression and causing essentially commanders and unit commanders and chaplains to dislike the Norse pagans because they are always looking for special circumstances, right? That's what's happening, you know. And I say that as a veteran. I get that people have their own individual expressions. You know, like one hot debate that we had when I was in was, do we bow or not bow, right?
Yeah, I remember you fighting for that one.
And I was like, I don't bow. But some of you do, and that's fine. Some of you, there are examples in the lore that will prove either case, right? You bow before a king, you'll certainly bow before the king of the gods, right? And there are Vikings that bowed or kneeled before their kings, and that's okay. I'm not saying that it wasn't done or that it shouldn't be done. I'm saying that I prefer not to do it. I prefer not to bow. But
well, it's not even your king that you're being asked to bow to, you know?
Well, in that case, but I was kind of setting the stage for that. But when I was in a staff academy, I was supposed to, they say, let us pray, and you go to parade rest and you bow your head. And then when they say amen, you go back to attention and you pop your head up. That's the way that but it's not actually a drill movement. It's not actually in the drill manual, not in the Marine Corps or any other one that I'm aware of. So I told him, I was like, if it's a drill movement, then I will comply. But if it's not a drill movement, I'm not going to bow my head. I'm not Christian. I don't pray to your gods, and that's not how I pray. So of course I got branded as a troublemaker and all that kind of stuff, but they couldn't do anything because I was winning an award. I was ready to just not go to the ceremony. It's like, okay, you guys can graduate. No big deal. Graduate. I'll just I'll just sit in the crowd or whatever. I'm okay with it. I don't need the special circumstance of me standing out in formation when everybody's head goes down, right? I was like, I'm okay with that. Ultimately, they're like, you're getting an award. And I was like, so I don't care, you know? And then, why was I getting an award? Because I was better than people around me. Well, that's the point, right?
It is the point, yes.
So they made a concession. They're like, you know what? We're just going to overlook it. Don't bow your head. Stand in formation. Nobody's going to notice. It's really 3 seconds, you know? It's a slight movement that nobody's paying attention to. So they're like, we're just stand into formation, come when you're called to get your reward, and then don't bow your head. That was the only issue I had in my entire time in the military, based on my paganism.
Yeah.
You know, every other unit I went to didn't want to lose me. The biggest issues I had was
tried to hold on to you.
Yeah, moving from unit to unit or from job to job. The old job wouldn't want to let me go to go to the new job, even if it furthered my career and advanced my my agenda in the military. They wanted me, and it wasn't. And I'm not trying to sit here and just brag on myself, but it's because I took my religion to the point where it created who I was and how I acted. And what's more Viking than being the baddest fucking Marine in a unit? You know what I mean? What's more Viking than that? A beard? Sorry, I just can't get behind that. But if you want a beard, I mean, I don't think it's necessary. And I think that the biggest beef I had with the whole idea behind it initially was they're like, well, I'm not a real Viking if I don't have a beard. Well, you're not a Viking anyway, so lose that idea.
Right.
Second, what does that say about me? You know, what are you as a fellow pagan saying about me who chose not to have a beard or to even, well, not like I had a choice, but, you know, but what does that say about me who did a full career? You know, I got four combat tours. Is it four?
4 combat tours.
4 combat tours, 7 deployments, more bumps on the head.
I was going to say a couple hundred knocks on the head.
But what does that say about me? Does it say I'm not a real Viking? I'm not a real Norse pagan because I didn't grow my facial hair out? So anyway, that was the debate. There's a lot of people up in arms about it, and they're ready to get out of the military over it. And I say, you signed on. You signed up to join a unit, the U.S. military. Did you join expecting to have special treatment for hair regulations, or did you join knowing that you were going to go in, you were going to learn some skills, you were going to do some cool shit, and then you were going to get out or stay in indefinitely, you know? So you got to kind of weigh your options. What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for the guy who is a problem from the time you got to your unit to the time you left? Or you want to be the guy that nobody wants to let go? So you really have to kind of shift gears. I think the focus is on the wrong thing, right? But anyway, I beat that dog to death. If we want to do a full podcast about beards, I'm certainly happy to entertain that. You guys let me know in the comments if that's what you want. And we can talk about the good and the bad of it. And I can even draw some of the documents from, what are those? There's 2 organizations, right, that are helping with that. I'll call them out here because, you know, you can go to them. We're not going to be able to help because I don't.
You got, you're talking about like HAVA?
Yeah, HAVA, which is
Heathen American
Veteran Association.
Yes.
Heathen American Veteran Association, HAVA. They have a really well done document that supports the beard accommodation.
Yes. The problem is it's not the beard accommodation for Norse pagans. It's the beard accommodations for every pagan.
Is it?
Well, no, I'm saying like that's, you know, people who are not Norse pagan are claiming Norse pagan just to get that beard. Right. And that's not okay. Like.
Yeah. So the real Norse pagans that I know, or the practicing true Norse pagans who aren't eclectic about it, I don't want to say real, but the ones that aren't eclectic about it, who are just niched down on Norse paganism, the ones that I know haven't sought the accommodation because they can see from the inside looking out that it's being hijacked by everybody who wants to be a pagan, just so they don't have to shave or just so they can look.
Right, and if it was claimed
like, it's because it looks cool. It's because it looks like you're going on a freaking mission in the polar boras of Afghanistan. That's why. Yeah. But that's really why it is.
If it was just for a beard accommodations for pagans, then everybody could do it.
Right.
But there's you know, they're niching it down to Norse pagans.
Yeah.
But then they're, you know, it's like they don't, how many gods can you count in your fingers? In
Right.
Norse paganism, like 3?
Yeah.
4?
The ones in the Marvel movies, but
Yeah.
anyway, I'm not here to judge people's,
Yeah.
you know, devoutness about paganism. I don't think it's necessary, and I think that it's being hijacked. And for the time being, like in the future, yeah, like Sikhs, some Muslim sects, and then some medical reasons, and then also some operational requirements too, are the reasons people have beards. Personally, I believe everybody should be able to have a beard if they can grow one.
Right.
Because you know, I've worked with Norwegians, and the Norwegian army has beards. Italian army has beards. There's various other armies around the world. So this whole you can't seal your gas mask. I say everybody have a beard. Create a regulation around it, just like we do for mustaches. Every unit can have a mustache, right? And they look 70s porn star sometimes. Or in the Marine Corps, you got to trim that sucker up so you look all Adolphish. You know what I mean? Like they make that sucker be super tight in this little box. And,
yeah.
It looks stupid. And I know because I had one for a long time. So I had my facial hair. That was my facial hair, was my mustache. Right?
Yeah.
You remember that
Yeah,
crap.
too.
So I don't know.
So I would like to say in the comments, like, you know, maybe people can throw in the comments some of the things that they would like to see moving forward, ideas they have on how to fight this battle.
Yeah, for sure. Because it ain't going to be physical.
No.
I don't think raiding churches and, you know, burning churches and stuff is the right tactic anymore. Like we're not living in the Middle Ages anymore.
But how can we make our Norse pagans like the baddest motherfuckers in the service?
In the service, yeah. That's an individual choice, you know. So really, I guess there was one more anyway. We had Hava and we had AMH, the Alliance of Military Heathens. I didn't want to skip over them because those are two resources that you have. You have Hava and Alliance of Military Heathens. So contact one of those two agencies if you need help with that, because I know they're there for that. Also, before you lose your mind, understand that no changes have been made to any of the grooming standards or orders. If you still have that piece of paper in your pocket that says you have your waiver or your accommodation, then you still have accommodation. Now, your commander may ask you to shave or may even demand that you shave, and you don't legally have to do that. This is not legal advice. But what are you creating? Eventually, you will have to.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth already said it. He's taken it away. Eventually, you will have to get rid of that accommodation and shave. So do you really want to start a war with your immediate commander, first sergeant, sergeant major, platoon sergeant, platoon commander? Do you really want to start a war with those people when they're ultimately going to win it anyway? Like, choose your battle. This is probably not one of them.
Yeah, you're going to tank your career.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? Share this podcast with Pete Hegseth. I will volunteer to go talk to him and talk to his cabinet about paganism in the military. Seeing as how I served honorably in the Marine Corps in every respect, and my record is easily available. Anybody with access can look mine up. No disciplinary action, no anything. All above board, you know, not super soldier shit. Like, I was average in a lot of places, right? But I was above average in a lot also. And I certainly was never a burden to my command. So look me up, man. I know as much as anybody that's willing to come talk to you and help you. So, yeah, share this with him. Push this out there. Pete, Secretary of War, the Honorable Mr. Hegseth, I'm here to help support you in supporting the pagans in your service. Right? Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Or are we done with that?
I think we're done with that.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. We blew that one up.
Well, it's a hot topic, though.
Yeah, and I didn't want to breeze over it too fast because I wanted to make sure that we said what needed to get said. But yeah, in the end, do your best. So I know you read the last one, but you can read this one too because I did most of the talking.
Right here?
Yeah.
And even in local governments, school boards and councils are trying to shut down invocations that aren't Christian, denying pagan clergy and even Hindus or sheiks the chance to open civic meetings with prayers.
Yep. So it used to be a thing where they would have these, maybe they'd have a multi-prayer. I don't recall any specific examples, but I remember seeing like like an opening of an event, and it was like a Wicca prayer and a Buddha, and then like the Christian or Catholic variant, right? So there was like 2 or 3 different prayers, and one of them usually represented some sort of a pagan path. Maybe not all pagan paths, but it was kind of a universal pagan prayer. I might have even seen them in the military before.
Yeah.
I don't recall, but I know that I've seen them before. I just can't seem to wrap my head around. It's so infrequent, right? But now that's becoming a thing where that's not even allowed anymore. You know, they would scream over you and make sure that your voice was not heard. Why?
Yeah, I can't remember going to any events and having something other than a, Christian prayer.
Except at Pagan Fest when we did it.
Pagan Fest, yeah. Where we did it, and it's right here.
Yeah, or Viking it, yeah. So they're trying to silence those words. Anyway, there's supposed to be some sort of a credit on the other side for it. Now, to me, that says that is an indication of a very insecure deity. I feel like I'm a pretty secure human being, right? And I can accept people for who they are. I won't accept mistreatment, but I won't tell you how to believe or how to react or anything like that, right?
Right.
And so I think, and I'm not involved or enlightened or any of that shit. I'm just working on me, and I know that when I confront people about things that are none of my business, it never works out for me, and it doesn't feel good. Okay, even if I get in an argument with somebody, it never really feels good, right? It might feel good in the moment to get a couple of good one-liners in, but it doesn't feel good. So I work to feel better about myself by letting other people enjoy their expression and be wrong sometimes, right? It's okay to be wrong. I don't have to tell you you're wrong. I can just let you learn the lesson the right way, right? How can a deity not be more evolved than a fucking douchebag U.S. Marine? Right? How can a god not let you just live your expression and then end up where you end up when they're the ones that orchestrated the thing in the first place? That tells me that this deity is extremely insecure about their place, right?
Right.
That's the way that I interpret it. So, I don't know what else to say about that.
I think even Yaffenhar was talking about, because he used to go to church all the time.
Right.
And they kind of beat that into about collecting souls for the afterlife.
Yeah.
So that, and, he wasn't Mormon.
Okay. Well, I mean.
But I remember talking to him about that a little bit, Well,
there's so many different versions of Christianity, right? And people accept that. They accept that Westboro Baptist Church is not the Southern Baptist group or the Seventh-day Adventists down the road, right? They accept that those are different practices and different peoples, and they just accept them for who they are. They don't do that for us. They don't accept that, Asatru Global or our brand of Asatru isn't the same Asatru as the AFA, right?
Right.
They don't accept that. They're like, Asatru is the same name. Really? What about Norse Pagan? It's the same thing. It's the same pantheon. Really? The same pantheon? I mean, come on. You got like 5 million different religions that all pray to Jesus, right?
Right.
And then you got Muslims who you accept, and they just don't even think Jesus is the Son of God, but he's just a prophet, like Muhammad, right? That's what they think. But as long as they're praying to Jesus, as long as they believe in him, well, it seems kind of ridiculous and double standard for us on the pagan side, to me. But I don't want to hate on Christians. I bag on them a little bit and I make some jokes at their expense, but they're just jokes.
Yeah.
They're just jokes. I'm not burning churches and I'm not beating up on Christians. And I joke with my friends too, sometimes kind of brutally. That's who we are. That's how we act. But.
Okay. Moving on.
So I guess the gist of it is that we're not alone, right?
Right.
We are many. There's a lot of pagans in the military, out of the military. We just have to be true to our path and who we are, and remember that we can support each other. So in the military, it's kind of I can see a war between the Asatru or the Norse pagans versus the regular eclectic pagans because some of them are hijacking it. But remember, the ones that are hijacking it, they are always the outliers. They're always the squeaky wheels, right? They're always the ones that give the other ones a bad name, you know?
Right.
So we have to remember that, and we have to deal with the infractions on a case-by-case basis, and then deal with the collective with love and kinship. That's the way to do it. But you have to deal with the infractions on a case-by-case basis, and don't brand the entire collective. Like every Wicca in the military isn't trying to get a beard.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
the three that are making problems for everybody else.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But I mean, the main point is we are definitely not alone. Like we're growing, just paganism in general. Like we're growing, and everybody's afraid, and they should be. They should be, because you know it's a lot nicer over here, you know, on the dark side than over in that light. It's just that's where I'm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think it's a little more comfortable to be able to be a good person, but be free to express that however you need to.
Well, and I think there's a bunch of articles out there where the younger generation is totally turning their back on, you know, Christianity and they're just kind of going back to nature, and that's where, you know, that's where they need to fear, is because once you go back to nature, you're back to like yourself. Yeah,
once you kick your shoes off and walk barefoot in the forest, and you realize that God is
in you.
Not even. God just is. Mm. The gods are, you know, that's it. You're in it. You live in it. When that kind of hits you, it's like, oh, why do I have to go into this sterile place, listen to this loudmouth, read out of this book that I don't understand, give me a bunch of rules that don't make sense according to my life and my decisions and my choices, even though I'm good to people and I do good things for people.
Take my money and I can't pay my light bill.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I know how much my family gave to the church.
Oh, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And I think Mormons have a tithing of like 10% of their earnings or something. So that's why the church has it. That's why they got a temple and we don't.
Yeah, we're doing it wrong.
No, we're not. Every tree is my temple. I just think we should probably come together and support each other, whether you're a Druid, or I said Wicca a lot, but I don't know why I tended to go there, but whether you're a Druid or Anglo-Saxon pagan or Norse pagan or Forcida or Asatru, whatever you want to call your practice, as long as it's true to you, then it doesn't matter what the other person is doing. They're in a different religion, right? That's the way I look at when people try to compare us to something like these, I don't want to say their name again, but these outlier separatist Asatru groups. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't like to make their name known because they hold no value to me. As far as I'm concerned, we are a different religion. We might have the same pantheon. We might base our religion on the same lore, but we interpret it entirely different. We are a different religion. We are as different as the Catholics and the Protestants. We are as different as the Jews and the Muslims. We are different, you know, and that's okay. It's okay to be different and share the name, right? Jews and Muslims both use the name of Christ, right? And so do the Catholics, and so do the Protestants. They all use the name of Christ. They all use these same metaphors. They all use the same, in a lot of cases, the same book, right? Or at least versions of it, at least the same root text built all these various different Bibles that they use. We can do that with the people that don't agree with us too, right? They are a different religion, period. Because nothing in our version of Asatru or Norse paganism preaches hate, intolerance, or anything like that. Nothing. And that includes intolerance and hate for other religions, right? They are, as much as I believe that this path is right for me, I also believe that those other paths are right for those people who are there, unless they're too afraid to leave. Because that's a thing. They're feared into staying and practicing those paths. So is there a war on paganism? I don't know. I don't think there is yet, but I think it's coming. And I don't think it's going to be much of a war. It's just a slow degrading of our rights to practice and our rights to assemble, based on who's in charge at the moment, right? And I don't think, don't get me wrong, I don't think putting liberals back in the office is going to be, You know, another Joe Biden, inept as that dipshit was, is going to fix anything, right? I don't think politics is the answer to this. I think unity among the people is the answer to this. Quit letting politics divide us up, right? I don't care if you're a Trump supporter. I don't care if you like Hegseth or not. I don't care if you like Charlie Kirk or not. I don't care if you voted for Biden or Kamala or Bernie Sanders. None of it matters to me. In fact, there are people that I love, people that I truly love, that have fit every one of those descriptions, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
They fit every one of those descriptions. And we can still sit down and have a meal together and enjoy each other's company, because we know that those are just ideas. They're not people, right? Ideals aren't people. Judge people on how you're treated and how you react. And sometimes people get caught up in the storm. You know, sometimes people react with a little bit of viciousness, but I don't know if that's necessary. So I guess it's just important to state that the Constitution still protects us.
Yes.
We still have a separation of church and state.
Now stop giving our rights away, though.
Yeah. What?
To be so-called protected, stop giving our rights away.
Who said it? Put in the comments if you know this quote, or Google it. I don't care. I can't do it right now because I'm in the middle of a recording. But somebody had said, for a people who would trade their rights for safety, deserve neither. Or trade their liberty for security, deserve neither. Something like that. I think it was like Ben Franklin or something. But look that up. So there's a lot of truth in that statement. If you're willing to trade off your rights for a little bit of security, then you don't deserve it.
Yeah, I mean that's what coronavirus taught us, right? How many rights did we give away? Yeah,
and we never got them back, even the temporary ones. You know.
And we got very used to losing our privacy. Really,
our privacy, being told where to be, when to be, how to be. And then it turns out, now that the information is coming out, it was all a big hoax anyway.
Yeah.
Well, not a hoax, it was a big con.
Yeah, to get our rights.
Yeah. So it's starting to see that there was no value in any of it. I'm pretty sure that getting those boosters is what killed your father and my mother.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, way down on a different path. So the point is that we still have rights under the Constitution to assemble, to practice. There have been lawsuits over animal sacrifices that have been won. There have been lawsuits over the use of ethnogenic medicines that have been won. All of those things are there. There's precedence for almost everything that you might have in a pagan path. But to have some preacher who studied no paganism at all, just maybe a couple of searches on TikTok, right?
Right.
And then they come up and they're like, those people are having sex under the full moon and burning babies and you know, Bible. And it's like, you guys are idiots. But how do you combat that? You can't jump up there with the same energy. You know, you can't go up there and be like, yeah, well, you this and that, and you're a liar, and that's not what we do. The second you're on the defense. So that was weird. As soon as I said that, the camera shut off. Everything went dead. Small, minor technical glitch, but I think the computer updated.
I know my brain was just
government.
Caca.
But they're not that sophisticated, I don't think. Anyway.
It was like great timing.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, hopefully it doesn't shut off again. This is the time to be vigilant.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about that. This is the time to pay attention. Don't let things go. Don't let them slip like they used to. Like before, somebody would say some negative stuff about pagans. Point everybody to it. I don't want to make them fear talking out. I don't want to take anybody's rights away, but they should know that we are not what they think we are. Right? We're not bad people. We're not devil worshippers. In fact, who even believes in the devil? They do, not us. Right? I don't even believe in definite good versus evil. I don't believe in that whole black and white of anything. Everything has value. Everything has purpose. Right? Even the bad things that happen to us in our life, 10, 15 years down the road, turn out to be some of the best things that have ever happened, at least in our life. And other things are bad and they just suck.
Yeah.
And they never get better. So, but you learn lessons, right? So there's always some good to come out of it if you can think of it that way. So
Yeah, I say be a good person, educate yourself. Don't attack. Don't attack them. They're just doing what they're programmed to do.
that's the bait.
And we are unprogrammable.
Yeah, and ungovernable. So, but that's the bait. The bait is, that, like that pastor on TikTok who's screaming and yelling about burning witches in the parking lot, and
yeah, weren't you like?
Yeah, another pagan. I'm not going to call him out because I'm not going to give him any power.
Yeah.
Another pagan, when we blasted, that we were creating the
Asatru Global.
Asatru Global, they're like, tell me you're Greg Locke without telling me you're Greg Locke. I'm like, you've been holding on to that one for a while, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like, congratulations on finding a way to use your one-liner. Congratulations, because I know you've been holding it in your pocket for a long time. I'm glad that I could be here for you to give you an expression that you've been just dying to use. So, and that's where that ended. And then I had to block them because people suck.
Especially on TikTok.
And I'd rather not engage with it.
No.
So, anyway, it always seems to go down that road, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And, it's not like they really asked any questions about Asatru Global or anything.
No,
they went right to the negative.
Right to the negative. It was that.
You're going to grift our people. And it's like,
who's grifting here?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's got a history of grifting? So, project much? So, but we do that, okay? So we're doing that now. They do that. Everybody does that. We all.
Yeah.
So sometimes the only way that you really have any kind of recourse to defend yourself is by turning it on to an offense. What that is that's the bait. In that particular circumstance, we just had a little fun with it. But in that circumstance, I just refused to take the bait.
Yes.
And it died. It fizzled. That's the same way when you're dealing with these aggressive Christians, right? Refuse to take the bait. I'm sure that some of the things I've said here is going to bait some of them into negative interactions, and that's fine. I will refuse to take the bait, right? Because the whole idea is that all interaction is good interaction as far as those kind of people are concerned. I think P.T. Barnum had said that all news is good news, or all. He did some dumb shit to get in the news. Like, he would make up lies about himself, anonymously report them to the newspaper, and then people would become outraged and go to his show because they want to see these lies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. He actually paid some guy once. There was a small museum. I might be conflating some of the different. I read this in. It was a book I was reading.
There's a lot of books you read.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I think it was the 48 Laws of Power, because it has a lot of really good, like little snippets of this is how the law is used in this circumstance, right? There's a lot of really cool information in it, and one of them is they had this guy. I think Barnum was involved with this. This was one of his scams. This dude was like, there was like a museum that was opening, like one of Barnum's first like things, and he wanted to bring people into the museum. So he had a guy out on the corner like stacking bricks or something, and he took a brick and he would like walk in the museum, and a couple people would follow and walk all the way through, and then he'd go out the back door and he'd go back out front and start playing with bricks again. And then people would a crowd would gather around and watch him, and he'd grab the brick and he'd go back in the door and walk around and come back. People were just following him in, and then they got enamored into the museum. All he did was he just made money. Just Barnum would pay him to just walk around the building and go back in the door, and people would just follow him because they were trying to figure out what this dipshit was up to. And
they want to see the train wreck.
I may have screwed that whole story up, but it was something to that effect, is that people were just curious. And he figured out how to tap into that curiosity. But he also knows how to tap into people's rage and bias he didn't care. Like, he would make up his own lies. I mean, I think there was a point where they almost dragged him to the street and ripped the suit off of him, trying to harass him in the street so bad. But all they did was go to his circus and go to his show,
Wow.
So, because he was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice in order to get people through the door and get their nickel, So it's happening now too. It's just on a lesser scale, but it's more of just a natural human nature. People are doing it because that's what they do. They gravitate towards drama and conflict, and but the problem is there's no payoff. At least with Barnum, the payoff was you got to go to the circus and you're like, oh, okay, now I understand why this drama was here. It's drama for the sake of drama.
Right.
You know, it's like it doesn't really pay, doesn't help anybody, doesn't advance their cause any. It just doesn't do anything of value. It's just drama for the sake of drama, right? Yeah. It's just a dopamine hit. It's a dopamine addiction. You get a dopamine hit because you feel like you got one over, right? But we take a different path. So you can get this dopamine hit. You get it from belonging, being a part of a church is a dopamine hit when you go to church and you have a really good service and you feel good about it. That's a dopamine hit, but that's a community-based dopamine hit. The problem with a lot of pagans is our dopamine hits are online. You know, you see a good TikTok or you see a good YouTube video and you get that little dopamine hit, but it's false. It's like a placebo dopamine hit. It's not a real dopamine hit because there's no interaction between people. It's not like a kindred.
Right.
When we get together and we're making dinner and partying together and having a few beers and doing ritual, that's a real community-based dopamine hit. That's real interaction. That's lasting and strong and bond building. The online stuff is it's just a placebo. You know, it doesn't actually create any. You have this dopamine hit of community but you're still wallowing in loneliness and distraction and disconnection. But you get this momentary dopamine hit of community because you agree with whatever somebody just said online. You might be getting it now. If that's the case, man, share this with a friend, right? Or sit down with a buddy or a group and listen to our podcast and debate us, you know, because then you're taking that little dopamine hit and you're creating a community interaction around it, and then it's real. It's not a placebo, right?
Right.
So that's the challenge, is like, let's build our communities, pagan communities, and let's try to be supporting and caring for one another, because we are more alike than we are different, right? And right now, the wolf is at the door. Well, the sheep is at the door, but there's a lot of them, right?
The sheep has fangs.
The sheep has fangs. So, but they're at the door, and they're not quiet about it, and they're not subtle about wanting to take away our rights to believe and practice and worship the way that we want to. So all we can do is we can adjust to their playbook, but we don't do it with anger and we don't do it with violence, right? We do it like Charlie Kirk. We do it by giving our enemy a mic and saying, what do you have to say? Okay. And then you can choose to correct the record, or you can just walk away having the information of knowing that they don't know what they're talking about. Either one of those is a valuable tool depending on how you use it. That's what I do. Sometimes it ain't worth the argument.
Right.
And so with that, just try to take care of each other, you know, love each other, be good to each other, and support each other. And let's try not to tear each other down. There's plenty of that going on already, and the wolf is at the door. So one more thing to the Honorable Mr. Hegseth. If you need someone, or you would like someone to talk to you or help you adjust for and guide you through pagans in the military, I'm your Huckleberry. So give me a call. It's easy to find me. I'm in the system. I am a retired U.S. Marine, Scout Sniper instructor, mountaineering instructor. I've done as good as I can do for the units that I've been attached to or worked with. My entire service is honorable. There's never been any negatives at all. I've always been the Marine that was above reproach in the units that I was in. So I know how to do this. It advances the cause of the military and makes the pagans in the units valuable, not a burden to their commanders. So let's talk about it. Let's see how we can navigate this into the future for the benefit of those people in your command. Because like it or not, you can be as religious as you want about whatever denomination you claim. Those people are under your care. And it's your responsibility to support the pagans just as well as it's your responsibility to support the Christians. We are not at war with each other, all right? We are out fighting on the same side against the same evils around the world. You should support those men and women who have volunteered to support you. And I am able to help you do that. So look me up. If you need my contact information, I'm easy to find. So let's go from there. So, Mr. Hegseth, give me a call. Let's figure this out. For everybody else, I love you, I support you, and I wish you well on your journey. Tor Vigi.
Tor Vigi.